that I've been missing, but I'm foolish. I needed you. Know that I've been missing, but I'm foolish. I needed you. Know that I've been missing, but I'm foolish. I needed you. Know that I've been missing, but I'm foolish. I needed you. But I'm foolish. I needed you. Know that I've been missing, but I'm foolish. I needed you. I needed you.
Hey, what's up everybody? How's it going? This is Michael Buffington and I am back once again for our weekly drawing stream. We took a little break last week because of the Christmas break, but now that the new year is upon us, we must get started again. So, here's what we're gonna do. Last time we talked, I was working on something that I had been working on for a few weeks. This time, I thought we just have a little fun. So why don't I start? I'm gonna start off with drawing some heads, playing with a couple different character ideas, and then coming up with a little story, because one of the biggest things that people don't realize when they're drawing is it's fun to sketch, it's fun to draw, but what you have to remember is that story always drives the design. So we're going to come up with some story ideas as we draw, just kind of think of some things to help dictate what the design looks like, the aesthetics, the costume, genre, all of that. So, but first I'm going to start with just drawing some various heads, kind of like what I did previously, but this time we're going to do it sort of in a more searching way. The last time I was just having fun. This time I'm really going to search and try and come up with something cool that'll be fun and that you guys will enjoy watching me draw. Also, always remember that if you guys have any ideas for me, or if you want to share something, a concept, a thought, or if you'd like to see me draw something, feel free to drop something in the comments, drop a message, or give me any ideas that you might have that'll help me help you and come up with something really cool. All right, so let's get back down to drawing. All right, here we go. So this is what I had last time, and we're gonna close this out. And we're gonna start fresh. So let's start, let's see, I always like to draw an 11 by 17. That just sort of works for me. And I'd like to make sure that we're 300 DPI, so that's there. Okay. And we're just gonna start drawing. Okay, let's bring up a nice drawing brush. How about this? Nah, I don't want that. Let's find something else. Nah, yeah, I don't know about that one either. Let's see. I want something a little bit more pencil-like, so here's one that I really like that kind of has a nice pencil sort of feel to it. Okay, and actually the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna start blocking in. Let's just block in some big facial features. One of the reasons why I like doing this is because, you know, if you can see things at this stage in the block in, then it's just a matter of time before it really comes to life. In a larger format. So let's see. Here we go. Let's do a couple female head sketches. A little softer bone structure here. Okay. I'm just blocking it right now, just having a little fun. Coming up with different ideas for heads. Let's try a different brush here. Maybe something a little more chisel-like might inspire me more. This is just literally me doodling. This would be the equivalent of like a thumbnail. So who's our character here? What are we drawing today? Maybe we'll draw something space opera this time. Last time we did something like kind of like a post-apocalyptic, you know, native type. It was definitely in the future because he had a robotic arm. So that is definitely going to be in the future. And he had some kind of space laser weapon. But maybe this time we'll do something post-apocalyptic. I'm sorry, space opera. Maybe that'll work. We'll see. Either way, whatever we do, the main thing is that we're gonna have fun, right? Look, here's the thing that you have to remember. When you are drawing, you are doing something that children do, right? And when people grow up and they become adults, they say to themselves, oh, you know, that's sort of childish, that's child's play. It's time to put childish things behind us and move on and get a real job. But here's the thing. When you are drawing, you are practicing a skill that is very needed in the real world. Everything around us is drawn by somebody. So this is a real job for a lot of people, myself included. So never think that you're doing something that is a waste of time, because it's not. It can be a very lucrative career if you practice and you really, get your skills solid. Absolutely. And if you really think about it, the cool thing about it is, yeah, absolutely, this is something that children would do. And just like baseball is a children's game, right? Football is a children's game, believe it or not. That shit looks a little too harsh there. Basketball is a children's game. And yet you have people that play it all over the world and make a lot of money playing it. So, in reality, when you're drawing, it's almost like you're getting paid to play baseball. So why wouldn't you want to do that, right? We don't have to do something that we don't enjoy. The point in life where you're really winning is when you are doing something that you absolutely enjoy. And that's the key thing, right? You want to make sure that you find something that you can enjoy doing every day for the rest of your life. I know a lot of people that had different careers before they went into, that one's a little strong. I don't like those other ones. Before they went into art, and, they did it for a reason. They didn't regret their move into art, Let's drop that over here on another. Let's actually make that smaller. How about we do it about that size? Awesome. Okay. So right now, again, I'm just doodling around, just searching. Right now, I've decided I want to do something space opera. So, that's kind of like your Star Wars, Star Trek, Dune, Firefly, Jupiter. Is it Jupiter Ascending or Jupiter Rising? That would be a good example. I wouldn't call Hunger Games space opera, but definitely the way that they dress is, because the thing about space opera is it's kind of like over the top, extravagant. It shouldn't ever look like something that you'd wear to the grocery store. A great way to get inspiration for space opera stuff is to look at high fashion. Like, you see some of these stuff at these fashion shows, and it just looks sometimes just, incredibly silly and like nobody would wear it. But guess what? That stuff is wonderful inspiration for space opera stuff, you know? So you might not, you know, wear it going to the grocery store, but, you know, or out to go bowling. But if you were an intergalactic space queen, you would definitely wear it, you know? So that's the way you have to think, you know. And one of the other things, you know, is you definitely want to get into character. You know, you always want to think about, you know, what would this person wear? What would they eat? What would they think like? What, you know, what kind of weapon would they have? You know, all that kind of stuff is really important. It may not seem important, but it's very important. Let's see. How about let's draw a guy with a big beefy head. More like a big square jaw. Big zygomatic, superciliary arch, brow ridge. Just like a big bruiser guy. Big cheekbones. Okay, so we got some cheekbones there. He looks like a big, beefy bruiser guy, doesn't he? Let's give him a big, strong, square jaw. His head just looks like a piece of bread. Or brick, maybe. Not as sleek as the other guy, right? Which means he needs a little bit more cranium back here. And if he has hair, how about we give him a receding hairline here? Right? Maybe he's a little older bruiser type. Been through a few wars, right? Old war veteran. So you see what I'm doing here? I'm coming up with story as I'm drawing. I'm just kind of thinking to myself like, what would this guy eat? What would he be like? What has he gone through? Right? Because those kind of questions really are going to drive the design, you know? Oh, he's been in a war. Okay, so he's got a scar. You know, that's, you know, I know I'm making silly voices and just having fun, but guys, that's what really, you know, is going to set your character apart from, you know, other characters, or you know, if anything, it's going to help drive that design. Shrink that. Here's our big beefy guy. You know what I want to do is I want to just tweak this just a little bit. Yeah. Let's tweak that just a little bit. Okay. All right. How about a sneaky villain? What does that look like? You know what else is important to draw? Having something on. So if you notice in this stream, we've always got music playing, and that's because it makes it entertaining for you guys when you guys are watching, so that it kind of fills up any sort of dead air when I'm processing my next move. But The other thing that it does is it helps me, it kind of makes me move a little bit. It's like anything else, exercising, you're cleaning the house, you're washing the car, you want some music on, it just helps me think. So I think that's important. Now, something, one thing that people do is they will watch sometimes movies, TV, that kind of stuff. Kind of like this guy. He's looking cool. Oh, he's a little sneaky little villain guy there. He's not a nice looking guy, is he? Here, let's give him even more. Let's give him those thicker villain eyebrows. Yeah. Here we go. Now we're talking. Oh yeah, he is something. Okay. I don't like that one anymore. Here, let's take that one out of here. let's all these other ones are looking not quite so bad, and that one's looking very bad. So let's get a little more consistent here. Let's give her those typical girl eyebrows, nicely plucked. All right. I know everybody's different. We can't generalize, but one of the things that you're going to realize when you're doing art is really about it's about clarity, right? So what do I mean by that? Somebody needs to be able to look at your drawing and understand what's happening. If they don't, then what that means is it's sort of a fail in a way. If somebody can't quickly ascertain what's happening in your drawing, then what's the point, right? Because your job as a concept artist is really to get people to be able to suspend their disbelief. Okay, what do I mean by that? That means that you're creating a story that's not believable or that's not real. It's fiction, and people need to be able to look at your story and be able to say, to feel like what they're looking at is believable, without having to process it too much. They need to be able to look at it and say, that feels real, that feels real, that feels real, that's a black woman, that's an Asian man, that's a young woman, a young man, or whatever it is. And they need to be able to do it quickly, because if there's any time spent in them trying to figure out what is happening in your drawing, that's a failed drawing, right? They shouldn't be there. What is this? Is that a man? Is that a woman? Is that, now if it's a part of your story that the character is kind of ambiguous, what's the word I'm looking for? Androgynous, or ethnically or racially ambiguous, if that's a part of your story, that's one thing. But if it's not a part of your story and you're trying to communicate this is a black man in his, 50s, that needs to look a certain way. So sometimes you have to lean on, I don't like the word stereotype because it has such a negative connotation. I prefer to use a word like dominant traits or common traits. In every, ethnic group, in every race, there are dominant traits. For example, in people that have African ancestry, they will typically have very dark skin, like myself. They might have full lips, like myself. Now, because I'm not purely of African descent, I have, I'm probably about 28% European, and a lot of other things, Indian, Filipino, you name it. That when it comes to, as far as black features are concerned, that's really about it. I don't have a typical black, nose or something that you might see in somebody of African descent. So that's different. And if you're trying to tell a story about somebody like myself, obviously going using the common traits wouldn't work. But if you're just trying to communicate quickly and say, this is a black man, a black woman, you might want to lean a little bit more heavily on the common traits so that it reads quickly. So again, I don't like the word stereotypes. I think that it has such a negative connotation, especially in today's day and age. Goodness gracious. So, but as an artist, we're trying to tell stories. We don't have the luxury of words. I can't put, black woman so that everybody gets it. I have to be able to show this in my drawing. Okay, so that's what we have to work with. And if I'm not able to show that in my drawing, then it's not a successful drawing. What's the point of being a concept artist if you can't get that right? Okay, let's enlarge these a little bit. Excuse me. We're gonna group that. That's my first row. Call that row 1. I'm gonna call this row 2. And in row 2, okay, so who's our next character? What is our next character like? Our next character is going to be a very young teenage boy. So let's try that. What does that look like? Give them slightly bigger eyes. Anytime you want to make someone look a little younger, you should give them bigger eyes. That really pushes it in that direction. Keep the nose soft, don't overdo it. Face looks a little thin. How about I extend that outer piece out? Give him an earring, why not? And we'll give him like a cool teenage boy haircut and a thin neck. Right? And here, you know what? Let's do this. Let's give him like a little hairstyle where his hair is being combed back into like some sort of ponytail or something. His jaw feels a little long. Now again, remember these are just gonna soften up the face a little bit. These are just roughs, so I'm not obsessing over them too much. I am a little bit because it's human nature, but not too much. Okay, next one. How about we do a very cute younger girl? Okay, giving her a cute little nose. Okay, let's get those lips in there. She's looking a little old. Yeah, you want to be careful not to overemphasize lines in the face when you're drawing somebody young because it creates instant age. So let me just see, as soon as I take those out, she looks much younger. Okay, hairstyle. Let me think about that for a second. How about we give her like curly hair? That looks kind of cool. Let's give her like a little bob. And then it's long in the back. Man, I think I've just created a new hairstyle. Who would have known? I've gone from artist to hairstylist. Just like that. All right, as you can see, I'm having fun here. So it's not exactly cute young girl. She's probably looks like she's in maybe her mid to late 20s. But you know what? Hey, we hit and miss sometimes. That's just how it goes. Okay, let's move on to the next layer. Let's get our standard heroic type guy going. Standard heroic. What does that look like? The way I look at it, I think, everything's got to look strong jaw, strong looking eyes, right? Strong nasal bone. But maybe I want a whiter. Maybe I'll make him look a little bit more ethnic, if you will. So maybe we'll. Yeah, there we go. Hey, that's cool, right? Gives it a little bit more of an ethnic look with the aquiline sort of nose shape, right? You could be maybe Middle Eastern or Indian. Just wanted to do something a little different, right? Heroes don't have to be one thing. I think we've all learned that from watching things like Black Panther. Now, one thing that I haven't drawn yet, I haven't drawn very much facial hair, so I'm going to give this guy a mustache. But not before I get the side of his face done. There we go, a nice, strong looking hero. Let's give him like a cool hairstyle. That is a cool hairstyle. Definitely. Definitely something over the top for a space opera hero. But I want to create another villain too. Something incredibly villainous, more Jafar-like, if you will. Here we go. Nice. Nice. Nice little jaw there. Right, long nose. See, he looks very evil. You know what? Let's give him that receding hairline. I don't know why, but seems like evil guys always have like male pattern baldness. So let's do that. Give him a skinnier neck. Now he looks real evil. Nice. Let's give him long. Oh yeah, long hair. Look at that. So evil. He's evil. All right. So, as you can see, I'm having a bit of fun here. Because you know what? I just said when you're drawing, you should be having fun. So guess what? I am taking my own advice and doing just that. I'm going to pick one or two of these head sketches and use that as inspiration for a full body sketch. But before I do this, I'm going to take a quick break, so I'll be right back. Okay, so far we didn't really have a plan. The plan was to start fresh and to kind of create a little bit of a story as we went. To just start sketching and come up with ideas and maybe think about things for different characters. So as you can see, when I was drawing, I really didn't come in and say, I'm going to do dot, 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 dot. What I said was, I'm going to figure it out. And so I started sketching various heads, and I said, hey, I think I want a villain or a strong hero or a female heroine, or I want a big burly guy, or I came up with many different things. Somebody who's a warrior, somebody who's whatever, right? I played with different hairstyles, and I drew all sorts of different kinds of heads. And now I'm going to use that as inspiration for figures. So I'm going to do a few thumbnail sketches really quickly, and I'm going to use that and the head that I create as a basis for the character drawing that I do. Now, there are many different ways to approach this. As they say, there are more than one ways to skin it, there is more than one way to skin a cat. I was going to get it right at some point. There is more than one way to skin a cat. There is more than one way to approach creating characters and concept art. I'm just sort of doing something that I like to do, and this isn't the only way that I do it, but this is just how I'm doing it today. It works. So I personally like to start with the head, because 90% of the character lives right here. We've talked about that before. You could take my head and put it on a different body and it would still be me, but if you take a different head and put it on my body, it's no longer me. So 90% of that character lives here. The rest is a supplement, or it's helping tell the rest of that story. So right now I'm going to work on some thumbnails, try and come up with what the costume looks like. We said we were going to go space opera, so I'm going to do something over the top and extravagant. Like I said, I'm going to think about fashion and things like that, and not something that you would normally wear to the gas station or to the gym or to the store or just lounging around the house. But if you were an intergalactic space queen or intergalactic police officer or a space warrior of some sort, then maybe you'd wear something like this. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna do that now, and then we're gonna see what we come up with. Okay, so I'm gonna call this we're going to call this Buffington character to start. Okay, so I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this in a different file. So I'm going to drop this. I'll have this window up and open. Maybe we'll make that a little bit smaller. Okay, now we're going to open up a new window where I will do some thumbnails. Okay. All right. So the way that I like doing thumbnails is I like keeping them nice and loose. I'm thinking of long, big over-the-top shapes, right? Now that's over the top, right? Okay, so there's one. So there's that little thumbnail there. Let's do a new one. I think that'd be something that guy would wear. And how about our hero? Let's make our hero like a space cop. Hey, you know what? Whatever gets your creative juices flowing, right? I know. My wife would love that because she likes what I call the sexy cop shows. That's Law and Order, Criminal Minds, anywhere where they have like those good-looking cops solving crimes. Usually it's somebody getting murdered or something. She likes that stuff. So maybe an intergalactic sexy cop show. You know what? I might be onto something. Yeah. Anyway, okay. So now we have something here. It's a little loose, but hey, so what, right? We're just playing. Okay, so we're doing really good. Just kind of figuring some things out. Now I don't necessarily have to stay with these silhouettes or anything like that, or the pose. I'm just trying to figure out what overall this thing might look like. So let's see, let's do something for our big burly guy. I know his head is a little more upright in that head sketch, but maybe we change that a little bit, huh? Have him hunch over a little bit more. That looks kind of cool. Huh? It's good to be loose when you're drawing these thumbnails. I don't like that stance. Delete. Yeah, there we go. Something bigger and chunkier. Yeah. Now we're styling. Boom, give him two big old guns, right? Bah! There's our guy. Should he have a backpack? What do you think? Why the heck not, right? Maybe those guns are somehow connected to his backpack. How cool is that, right? Maybe that's where he gets the power for those weapons. They're more like rifles. Nice. Okay, let's shrink that. Make him taller and lankier. Make our guy here bigger and burlier. And make our hero just kind of, you know, he's buffed, but he's not that buffed. All right, let's do something for our female characters. Let's think. Now, what can we do for them? We want to play with some shapes, so we definitely want to come up with something interesting. How about okay. that. Get those legs right. Get some nice, pretty long sleeves that hang down very dramatically. Give her some big shoulder pad type garments. Something. Okay, we're gonna close that up. And we'll do one more thumbnail. Oh, you know what? For this guy. Actually, no. Okay, I lied. We'll do two more. I got something in my head. Just working on a little idea. Okay. Told you I had an idea. Okay. That's pretty cool. All right, he's got a blaster there. He's holding some kind of staff there. And then finally, okay, let's go to this. I'm doing something for this one here. We'll do like a little poncho. Okay. Shrink that. Let's get the proportion right. Okay, so we're moving right along. I'm gonna actually compress all of these files here in this first. And I'm gonna drag this into the other file, making them much smaller, of course. And so we can look at everything all together. We're gonna close that now. And we're gonna say, I'm gonna call this Buffington character 2 thumbnails, thumbs and heads. Okay, so now, where are we at? Okay, so now where we're at is we have our thumbnails here. So I started with creating a bunch of different heads. What I was looking for was something that would inspire me. So I started with heads. I kind of created a little bit of a story for each character when I was doing the head. This character thinks like this. This character is a hero. This is an old war veteran. This is a villain. This is a super villain. And from there, I used that. See, I used that to give me inspiration for the thumbnails. So what you want to remember is story always drives the design. So if you want a really good design, you have to start with a story. If you don't have a story, find one. If you can't find one, make one up, because those kind of things are really going to drive the design. So what I did was I created a bunch of heads. I kind of talked to myself as I was going, talked to you guys. I then kind of created a few different variations, and then I used that to create some costume variations. And that's super important for you guys when you guys are trying to work some ideas out. Now, you may have a more fleshed out story, hopefully you do, and that'll give you even more information or a more pinned down direction. I'm still playing, right? That's what this is about. This is about hella drawing and having fun. But now that I have my thumbnails over here, as you can see, they're very loose, they're very rough, but you can kind of get an idea of where I was going. There's no detail, it's just shape and sort of big chunks in terms of where the costume elements should be. And so now I'm going to use that to try and create a slightly tighter sketch. Now, we're running low on time. I've got a little bit over 30 minutes, but I'm going to try and take these two elements, put them together, and come up with something at least somewhat rough within the next 30 minutes. And then the next time we meet, next Monday at 3 o'clock, we'll come up with a little bit more. All right? So let's see. Let's take... call this group thumbnails, and we're going to copy that, close that. We're going to compress that down, and all right, so I'm going to take this one, erase out that head. Then I'm going to go to my heads, grab this guy, because that's sort of what I had in mind when I was drawing this. His head needs to be a touch smaller. Okay. So we're going to put that together with that. And we're going to call that sketch 1. Okay. Then, let's pick another one. How about our burly guy here? Okay. Let's grab this burly guy here. I'm gonna make a couple tweaks with this guy. I'm gonna make his head a little bit wider. Let's warp that a little bit. I want him to feel super burly. There we go. So here's that guy. All right, so where's my head at? Here's my head. We're gonna combine that down here, and we're gonna call that sketch 2. And now look what we got. Bam. Do you see how cool that is? So I drew, a head, and then I drew a quick thumbnail for the body and costume. And then now I'm just kind of combining them together, and I get kind of a sense of what's supposed to be happening with my character and the story. I mean, the character's kind of coming to life already at just this stage. You see, this is where the thinking has to be done. The thinking has to be done at this stage, in the thumbnail stage. You don't want to be, drawing and thinking. Now a perfect example is what I was doing before. I know, do as you say and not as I do. What I was doing with the first character, I was just kind of having fun and just sketching. But I was thinking as I was going along, and it was actually a tad bit more difficult. It's better to do your thinking here at the thumbnail stage because it's low risk, high reward. Now, what does that mean? What that means is it doesn't take long to do, this and these heads. As you can see, I did them fairly quickly, okay? But the reward is that I can figure out super quickly exactly what I want going on with my character. So yes, is there a lot more detail that needs to be placed in this? Absolutely. But for now, we're gonna go with that. I feel like we're missing something though. We're missing. A character has gone missing. Here we go. That one was meant for this one here. So let's grab her. Okay, so I've got that onto this thumbnail here. Where is that head at? That head is here. That's gonna go here. And I'm gonna clip out bam. There you go. I don't know if that actually works for this character. We'll figure it out. We'll make it work. Maybe the head needs to be, maybe the head just needs to be a little bit bigger. Okay. Yeah, I mean, that kind of works. So let's call that sketch 3. Now we're short on time. We've got about 25 minutes left or so. So I've got to pick one at this point and just get going. I really like this one. I want that to be for this guy, but we'll have to come back to these guys later. So I'm gonna grab my sketches. I'm gonna throw them in a folder. We're gonna call that sketches. And then we'll call this heads. And we're going to knock that down here. Okay, and so now what we're left is with these 3 sketches. So I'm going to take that, copy that, and then I'm going to blow these sketches up. Let's expand this canvas. Let's go. All right, so here we are. I think what I'm going to do is the one that I'll be able to get done the most quickly will be the villain, and that's because his costume seems to be the least involved. This has got a lot of moving parts over here, and so I'm going to go ahead and go with him. So we're going to copy our sketches. I am going to say goodbye to these 2. And I'm going to move my villain over here. Okay. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to turn down the opacity on this. Drop another layer in. And we're just going to start sketching. I'm going to go switch my brush. Find something with a better point on it. So now I'm getting into some detail here. And this is all going to be still pretty rough. That eye doesn't look right. Yeah, that doesn't look too right to me. I'm going to start on the other side. And this is just a sketch, so it doesn't need to be super perfect. That eyebrow's not working for me. I know I just said it doesn't need to be super perfect, and here I am stressing. But, you know, comes with the territory when you're an artist, right? There we go. Okay. All right. Okay. Let's move a little bit more quickly here, huh? Just sketches after all. There we go. Coming right along. Sometimes I just have to stop trying to be a perfectionist, you know? Like remind myself that it's okay to be, you know, a little loose when you're searching and figuring things out. And I mean, that's still what I'm doing at this stage. Even though the thumbnail stage is done and I've gotten the overall shape, I'm still trying to figure out what's happening with the details. But because this is a part of my thinking process, it's really not a good idea to get too uptight at this point. So I really do want to keep it loose. You know what I want? I want him to have like a weak chin. Okay, so let's get to the receding hairline. There we go. See now that's looking a little bit more villain-like. Not that people with weak chins are villains. I have to say that because if I don't put that disclaimer out, I'm gonna have some people who have weaker chins, receding jaws. They're gonna be very angry with me. Now we're talking. See, he just looks like a real dirtbag, doesn't he? So the eyebrows aren't right. Ah. Let me get these right. That feels a little better. Now let's get this hair. Okay, so now the head of our villain characters is done. So we're gonna go, here's your, let me make sure the proportion is right. Let's make that head a little bigger. Okay, I'm gonna open up another layer so I don't mess up anything that I do there, because I'm gonna have some intersecting lines here. Okay. That looks like it's working. It feels a little off though. Let's grab both of those layers and rotate them a little bit. Okay, that feels better. Okay, for the head, I got 1, 2, and Okay. Oh, those fingers. I mean, I don't have to get this hand perfect, you know, because I'm gonna come back and clean it up at another time anyway, so I'm not gonna obsess over it. I'm just gonna. But I need to get it better than that. And actually, I think I want to. I don't want the hand turned up that much, so I'm gonna turn. Kind of wanted this hand dipping back that way, but does that make sense? I guess it does. Okay, you know what? I'll go back to that. I just have to make sure that I get it. Oh, yeah, you know what? Let me make this part coming off the shoulders more extravagant. Oh. There we go. That's looking pretty cool. Okay, so we just gotta get this other arm in there. Got a few more minutes, but you know, this is no rush. Okay, so as you can see, we have gone from just a head sketch to a rough thumbnail, and now we've got like a cool little sketch here. Now, this is, you know, something that I would consider a, you know, a tight rough. It's not quite right in terms of like there's some proportion issues and things like that that have to be fixed. There's some things that I lost in the design that I want to get back. So, you know, I can do that later. For example, like that big sweeping V shape here. You know, I want to make sure I keep stuff like that in. I also am not crazy about how I handled this head and jaw shape, because what I had going on in the other one, I know I was going for more realism, but I really do like how I pushed that, and I kind of lost some of that in the sort of refinement of. So I want to pull some of that back in, you know, and just make them look a little skinnier, right? A little more gangly. Okay. I'm probably going to tweak the nose to make the nose feel a little bit more thin and narrow. Maybe I can just do that right now quickly. Let's see. There we go. Let's rotate that ever so slightly. There we go. That's a little bit more along the lines of the look that I wanted. Everything long and narrow. And it's okay for us to fix that in these stages, because this is really where that stuff is supposed to be done. I'm probably gonna take another pass at the head, because I realized that I got really far away from this, but that's not that's not a bad head there. I just probably needed to turn the opacity up a little bit more so I could follow that a little bit more closely. But again, you can kind of see how I go from just, you know, a little fun sketch to what we have here, you know, where it's, you know, I started with a fun head sketch. I got the thumbnail down for the body, and then I went over it with some line to kind of refine it. Because, you know, one of the mistakes that I see people doing is trying to do all of their concept art in paint. And it's so slow, it takes so long to communicate what it is that you're trying to see. The most important thing that people need to see is line. They need to be able to see where something begins and ends so that they can have clarity and they can understand what the details are. And so that's kind of what I'm doing here. Is I took my head sketch, and then I took my my little costume sketch thumbnail, blew it up, and then turned down the opacity and did an overlay to start to communicate what some of that stuff is. Now, this is by no means a refined drawing, obviously, but it's something that I can use to create the refined drawing. So next week, maybe I'll come back and do a few more thumbnails. I won't have to do as much preparation work because I've done all that this week. But I might just jump right into this. Let's see how I feel. Let's see what you guys want. So if you guys have any requests or any suggestions for things, make sure you guys drop me something in the comments. If not, I'm just going to do whatever feels right in the moment. But for now, the key thing that I want you guys to remember that it's a process and your story drives your design. So I'm going to keep this going for next week. Until then, you guys have a great week. It's been fun. I will see you guys later. Take care.
Come on.